What is up, everybody? Glad to be back with you on this Friday where the market is currently a raging dumpster fire, right? We've got the fire sale going on, aisle 5, Black Friday. Everything's discounted, and this is why. The SEC this past week took it upon themselves to file charges first against Binance. We've got 13 charges going against Binance, including CZ. He's actually named in the suit. And then we had another suit filed against Coinbase. Now, it took me a couple of days to kind of wrap my head around everything that's going on. And I actually wrote an outline for the sake of this video that I'm going to pull up and kind of go through with you because there's just too many details, right? There's too many little nuances and things here. And for anybody who hasn't been following this on something like Twitter, it's really hard to effectively track it all, right? So let me go ahead and pull that up right now. Now, I would say also that outside of this outline, I've got a couple really funny joke pictures here that we're going to be taking a look at as well. So you may get a little laugh in this video. I'm just going to put that out there, right? We got to have some humor when the market is so crappy. So here we go. So we got the two lawsuits with Binance and Coinbase. But did you know that there are all these other existing lawsuits brought by the SEC? So obviously the most popular one that's going on right now is the Ripple lawsuit with XRP. That is currently pending. Everybody, by all accounts, everything I've read seems like this one may wrap up positively here soon. I've also seen kind of the gifs of the skeleton tapping on the wrist. A lot of people are looking for this thing to finish up. And I think it's kind of coming down to the judge's hands, and we'll see what happens there, right? But I'm hoping that case could be a catalyst for the whole market. And I'll get to that in a little bit. Some of the other cases. So we got a case against Justin Sun and Tron. If you don't know Tron, it's Tron, BitTorrent, Sun token. There's quite a few of them. I think there's like 6 or 7 tokens that he has. And I've done videos on them in the past. But anyhow, fraud and securities violations, right? Justin Sun. Then we had Bittrex Exchange, an unregulated, exchange. Okay, great. Then we got this BK coin, $100 million fraud scheme. That one doesn't sound good. That one's out of Miami. Yikes, right? The next one, this is a bit of a head scratcher, and I'll show you why in a second. But Nishad Singh, engineer, founder of FTX, one of 3 founders. We don't have Sam Bankman-Fried, and we don't have Gary Wang. But we do have Nishad Singh, the engineer who supposedly created the program that funneled customer funds towards Alameda, their venture capitalist firm, right? This is sort of some of the funny math that was going on in the background at FTX that led to their demise. What's telling, though, is why do we not have anything against SBF, right? Next. This is an interesting one. Paul Pierce. If you don't know who Paul Pierce is, he was a NBA player, most famously on the Boston Celtics, where he didn't disclose that he was paid $244,000 to promote Emacs. And my question here is, well, what about everybody that marketed FTX and essentially the FTT token, right? We got Tom Brady, we got Giselle, you got Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary, Steph Curry, Shaquille O'Neal. I even saw a clip on Twitter just the other day where they tried to serve Shaq papers at I think it was maybe an NBA game or something like that, something crazy. Very interesting, right? We also had a suit that I didn't show here that was against Kim Kardashian for basically the same thing, right? You're an influencer. You take a large sum of money. You don't tell anybody you took that money, and then you peddle some crap. And ironically, in the crypto market, there is a ton of this right now from all of the grifters on YouTube. And there are a lot of them. And I'm sure you know exactly who they are, right? I'll leave it at that. Now, moving on from there, we got other suits. We got Do Kwon with Terra Luna, right? That one imploded. We've got the Kraken staking program. This is the kind of stuff that's like, you're going after the exchange that's offering staking rewards. This is like a head scratcher. You're supposed to be, the SEC is supposed to be there to protect the investor, but you're hurting the investor by going after their returns for staking their coins. And when that one transpired, this was maybe a couple months back, I remembered a post with Jesse Powell that I shared on my Twitter, where he basically accused Gary of gaslighting him, right? And that's exactly what Gary has done to everybody. He's like the king of gaslighting. Okay. We then had a suit with Nexo, and then we had another one with Gemini Exchange. Okay. Now moving down. So this suit in particular, the first one with Binance. So Binance CZ suit, what are the charges? Well, here they are. We have an unregistered exchange broker and clearing agency. Okay. We have unregistered offer and sale of crypto assets. So homegrown tokens, BNB, BUSD, their staking program, etc. Failure to restrict U.S. residents from accessing Binance.com. And it says in particular that they subverted their own controls to allow high-value U.S. clients to continue to use Binance.com. Now, what's ironic about that was I asked this question a long time ago, and somebody, I think I posed it in a way that I said, let me guess, you're using a VPN. And I had somebody respond that they said, nope, I didn't use a VPN. I just used a different address somewhere else. And I was like, what? It was that easy? And they're like, yep, it works. Huh. So that's something there that I'm sure would not be difficult to disprove, right? Now, here's the big one, misleading investors. So here's where it gets really interesting with Binance and CZ. And this is all completely different from Coinbase. These two suits are not created equal. They're completely different. But misleading investors. So one of the things is wash trading or market making by unregistered Sigma chain on Binance US. So the way I understand that is CZ basically owns every aspect of a crypto transaction for every company that's involved. And when he does, he makes a profit on every little piece. And the way I kind of see it is I think there's some indifference on his part. He says, so I'm making my profit here and there. But there's a lot of problems with this. And so one of the problems is this allegation of wash trading, where essentially the buyer and the seller are the same party. And what they said was, there was extensive wash trading on Binance US over the last year. And I think it was on 48 of 51 coins that came out on the platform, many of which I talk about on this channel, right? So extensive wash trading, their volume is inflated. Also, if you look at them on CoinMarketCap, they always have the highest volume. Is that true? Yes or no? It may not be, okay? So if you don't disclose that you have a party as a market maker, then that's considered wash trading. If you then own that market maker and you own the exchange, there's a conflict of interest, right? These are all real things. False statements by BAM Trading Services. So this is the, quote, owner of Binance US, right? CZ marketed Binance US as a separate entity while he secretly controlled the whole thing through BAM. That's interesting. And we'll talk about that in a second. BAM Management US Holdings allowed CZ to move customer funds without their knowledge to Sigma Chain, which is the market maker, also owned by CZ, and Merit Peak Limited, also owned by CZ. You can kind of see where this is going and why it kind of brings up those red flags. Similar to SBF, they did a lot of this same stuff where he was trying to own every little aspect, right? Here's an interesting thing. Ironically, and this is where if I was the attorney, I would have looked at, they said nothing of him dumping FTT, right? That tanked the whole market and the whole firm went under. Now, obviously, if the firm had been ran better, it should have been able to get past that. However, when Binance has significant market share on just about every coin out there, if they dump the whole coin, the whole thing can tank basically with a bank run overnight. And that's exactly what happened. That's market manipulation, right? Example one. They also have one of my favorite topics, the innovation zone, where CZ himself has said the innovation zone is for do-nothing projects. That doesn't really sound like innovation, does it? But he knows full well that when Binance moves a coin into the innovation zone, that has a significant repercussion on the chart and the market of it. Nowhere in the SEC did they even look at this stuff. That's market manipulation. If that happened in the stock market, people would be going to prison. But here in crypto, I guess we just sort of turned a blind eye, right? And that's what's interesting with some of these suits and what's being, the allegations, because sometimes they're applied, sometimes they aren't. This party they are, that party they're not. There's no consistency whatsoever, right? So what we've learned since. So former CEO Brian Brooks' resignation resurfaced alleging CZ's control. So if you don't know who Brian Brooks was, he was the short timer, let's say, a CEO of Binance US that by all accounts was a very qualified candidate that only lasted roughly about 3 months. When he testified, here's what he said. What became clear to me at a certain point was CZ was the CEO of BAM Trading, not me. Interesting. He further explained that he spent his first 80 days as CEO trying to get these core foundational things realigned, but was overruled on all of them by CZ. And why this matters is that Binance US is supposed to be an independent company of Binance. And clearly it is not. All right. BAM CEO B elaborated all the things that we had previously agreed and had worked on for 80 days were suddenly repudiated with no further discussion. And on that day, I realized, I'm not actually the one running the company. And the mission that I believe I signed up for isn't the mission. And as soon as I realized that, I left. That doesn't look good, right? Next, we had the SEC request to freeze assets on Binance US. So they filed a document with the court to freeze the assets. We then had TradFi, traditional finance banks, aka the on-ramps and off-ramps of the platform, sever ties with the company that was shared in an email to customers this morning, and today is June 9th. Okay, also not good. Something else that came out of this was that the SEC asserted the following cryptos as securities. We got Solana, Cardano, Polygon Matic, Atom, BNB, BUSD, VGX, Filecoin, Sand, AXS, Chiliz, Flow, Internet Computer, Near Protocol, Dash, and Nexo. Are all those securities, yes or no? Gary couldn't even tell you. He couldn't tell anybody in Congress what a security even was, right? He has no idea. But somehow they're charging as all of these as being securities. Now, that's just the tip of the iceberg with Binance, right? And there's a lot going on there, and a lot of it not good, okay, in my view. Coinbase, this one's different. So the charges are unregistered exchange broker and clearing agency and unregistered offer and sale of securities per the staking program. For, again, something that's good for the customer, they're saying is illegal, okay? And as a customer, it makes you wonder when you look at your savings account at your bank and you're getting 0.25% on your return, and you could stake something like DOT and get 10%. Which one are you going to go with? It's pretty obvious. So it makes you wonder who's padding Gary's pocket, right? Moving on. So in response to the charges of being an unregistered exchange broker and clearing agency and the staking program, Brian Armstrong had the following response. The SEC approved them as a publicly traded company in 2021. This is true. This is when they got publicly listed, right? The SEC reviewed their application and approved it. He also says there's no path to register. And I saw a video interview with him where he said when meeting with Gary, they wanted to do it in person. Gary dodged them. Eventually, Gary agreed to a virtual interview where they basically inquired how to register and kind of came there in good faith, hat in hands. And Gary responded, talk to your lawyer. Thanks, Gary. Appreciate it. Great job. Good job as a leader, right? Obviously, yet another person with zero ability to be a leader in a leadership role. So moving on from there. Now, Brian also said the definition of security and which organization is in charge of it, the SEC or the CFTC, is ambiguous. Great. Okay. Next, we had Emily Meyer's post. So let me go to that. I'd like to share that. This is on my Twitter page right now. If you follow me on Twitter, you can find this. But here's Emily Myers right here. Shout out to you. Give her a follow if you're not following her yet. I retweeted this the other day. And wanted to go through this. It's pretty short, but it's very relevant, right? So number one, she says, remember Coinbase sued the SEC first. Really, right? So because of that suit, the Third Circuit Court handed the SEC an order today with 7 days to respond. This means the SEC may have to issue crypto rules, and this could happen faster than legislation. Let's dig into what happened, right? I mean, this is like just hilarious, right? So she says a quick recap. So in July 2022, Coinbase filed a rulemaking petition. This is a year ago, right? With the SEC asking it to provide regulatory guidance for crypto. 9 months passed and the SEC didn't do jack crap. Okay, great. This is like a typical government organization here in the US where nobody cares about the bigger picture. People are just there to pad their own pocket, right? Not that I know anything about this. Okay. In April 2023, Coinbase took the SEC to court to get an answer to its rulemaking request. In May 2023, the SEC asked the court to deny Coinbase's requests. The court didn't have a chance to rule before the SEC then sued Coinbase. Great. You know, what a colossal waste of money, taxpayer dollars, all these things, right? Today, the court gave the SEC 7 days to answer 3 questions, right? Here are the 3 questions. Number one, did the SEC decide to deny Coinbase's petition for regulatory guidance? They never answered that, right? This is what Gary does. He says, you're not playing by the rules, and you ask him, where are the rules? And he says, I'm not telling. So question 2, if the SEC hasn't yet decided to deny Coinbase's petition, how much more time does it need, right? Fair question. Question 3, why this court should not keep jurisdiction, order periodic reports, and or set a deadline to rule on Coinbase's petition if the SEC hasn't decided. So hopefully the SEC will respond to Coinbase's petition and provide guidance we need. Now, she says here, the Third Circuit is holding the SEC accountable for rulemaking. The court is doing its part to uphold citizens' interest. It's time for the SEC to do the same, which it hasn't done to date, right? We shouldn't have to sue our regulators to get them to tell us the rules of the road. I agree 100%, okay? Now, going back, Coinbase also had a great commercial here, which let me see if I can zoom this in real quick. The number of times we mentioned staking in our public S1 report, 57. Times we met with SEC in 2022, 30, right? Percentage of assets we reject, 90, okay? The year the test was written, 1946, that's laughable. Tech jobs at risk of being driven overseas, 1 million. And then countries currently working on crypto laws, 33. And how many laws are being established here in America? We got a big fat 0. Time to update the system. So I really like that commercial. I think it's pretty much spot on, right? Now let me go back to my outline here. So outside of that, Crypto.com came out just today that they were halting institutional trading in the U.S., citing, quote, low demand. So that's the first, side sort of domino to go down. Robinhood then said they were going to be removing Matic, ADA, and SOL from the platform upon a regularly scheduled review, which obviously is not true. So thanks again, Robinhood, for telling the truth. It's great. Gary, our boy Gary. Let's talk about Gary a minute. So some funny things with Gary. So the first one, which is absolutely hilarious, is that we learned Gary actually applied to be an advisor for Binance in 2019, but was turned down. I mean, you can't make this up. The chair of the SEC, who has a vendetta against crypto, was turned down to be an advisor for Binance. Awesome, right? Now, I have seen a couple of posts. I don't think they are real at all, so I'm just going to throw it out there that there's some posts out there that are saying Gary is shorting Bitcoin. Yeah, these are pretty much fake, right? Moving on. There was a video interview with Gary where he says, quote, hucksters, fraudsters, scam artists, Ponzi schemes, right? This is how he sums up crypto. And I would sum that up as saying all true. There's definitely every bit of that here in crypto, okay? Yet Gary and the SEC are targeting the centralized exchanges while ignoring the following. Grifters, right? Grifters are everywhere. They are all over Twitter. They are all over YouTube. They know who they are. They drop S coins, right? You know what I'm talking about. Daily. They rug everybody who buys it. They rug their audience. They rug the buyers. They rug them all, right? Big old rug party for all these grifters, right? There's too many of them in this space. And ironically, the SEC, you know, as I said earlier, has filed suits against Paul Pierce and Kim Kardashian for doing exactly that. Why aren't they targeting any of these people? It would be too easy, okay? Too easy. Especially when some of them are so blatant about it that they're leaving comments in the SEC Twitter posts. They're leaving comments in Gary's posts about the coins, the meme coins they're dropping and rugging everybody on. Okay, they're that blatant. And the SEC does nothing, right? We also have airdrop scammers, hackers. There's tons of this. Why aren't we going after them? I mean, I could go on Telegram and easily find you multiple Telegram scammers all day, every day. I could go on Twitter and find them all day, every day. I could go into the YouTube comments, find them all day, every day. Yet the SEC has done nothing, okay? Fake marketers with fake accounts. So I'm going to throw this out there to everybody. It may be a bit eye-opening, but when you see an account on social media and it looks like it has a lot of followers, a lot of those accounts are 100% fake. They have no followers, okay? And really, you know, kind of an easy way to look at it is, who are they following? And when the number is something like they follow 20 people, but they have 42,000 followers, that's a fake account. There are lots and lots and lots of fake accounts that are completely misleading people, right? We've also got the SEC that conveniently has ignored SBF, okay? And I'm not sure who put this together, but this is our first little thing here to share with you. So if you haven't seen this, I'm going to share it now. This is absolutely awesome. I know it's a little bit blurry, so I can explain it. We got the FTX logo in the middle, right? So top left here, we've got Sam Bankman-Fried, the disgraced, you know, former head of FTX that is known for basically being pretty intense, right? He plays video games nonstop. Apparently they were having, you know, endless sex parties in Bahamas in his penthouse apartment with like 18 people every day. You know, he's out there, right? In the meantime, he's so intense, he drives like a Honda Accord. Anyhow, Sam Bankman-Fried, CEO, of FTX and MIT graduate. Who was his professor? Well, guess what? Gary Gensler, head of the SEC, was Sam's professor at MIT, okay? So the student, we got the teacher, right? Now, who's the teacher's boss? Well, a guy named Glenn Ellison, right? Also at MIT, professor of economics, former boss of guess who? Gary Gensler. Who's Glenn's daughter? None other than Caroline. If you don't know Caroline, this is Caroline. Caroline's the one who was the head of Alameda. So Sam Bankman-Fried's venture capitalist firm that supposedly stole customer funds and yada, yada, yada. She's also Sam's former girlfriend, okay? So when you kind of see the circle here, it's pretty easy to see how Sam has never faced anything. Now, outside of this, I saw just the other day as well, there is a laundry list of political donations that Sam made to both parties, but predominantly a lot more went to the Democratic Party. Okay, Sam is based out of, I think his parents were at Stanford, California, left-leaning, etc. Regardless, that doesn't matter. What does matter is that there's tons of political donations behind this, and therefore Sam has never faced any consequences in this, right? Interesting. Now, I take that back. He did face a few consequences. I want to say they arrested him, and he got out on like the largest bail I'd ever seen in my life, which I don't even know how that's possible. It was something like $250 million. I have no idea how anybody could front that. All right. Moving on from there. Now we're going to talk about Gary the Clown. So if you haven't heard of Gary the Clown, there's a few images on Twitter, and I kind of wanted to share them just because they're really funny. So the first one we got this one right here of Gary the Clown. Yeah, it's pretty embarrassing, pretty funny. But that's Gary. Then the next one here, and Gary in this one, he kind of reminds me of the It Clown, right? The next one, he's a little more like Bozo the Clown, the Honorable Gary Gensler. That one's pretty hilarious. After that, we've got Gary doing his best Monty Burns impression. If you don't know who Montgomery Burns is, he's kind of the evil mastermind who is the CEO of the power plant where Homer works in The Simpsons. And this is probably the best one here. Yet another Simpsons reference. These are great. Where it says, Bart's saying, "Hey, Dad, I'm not a security," right? And we're doing a little fist bump. Below that, Homer says, "You're not a security so far." It says nobody's safe from Gary, right? That about sums that up. So that's really funny. Now, when asked for a comment on this, we also had some comments from Biden. The reason I bring Biden into this is simply because he's the one who appointed Gary. Okay, so clearly Biden had a lot to say when they asked him what his thoughts were on these latest lawsuits filed against Binance and Coinbase. And so Biden had the following to say. Huh? Joe Biden. Then he followed that up with, what? Joe Biden. Then they asked him again. They said, Binance and Coinbase. He said, I have no idea. Joe Biden. And then he wrapped all that up in his bubble suit that he was wearing at his, latest speaking engagement. So anyway, those are funny. Now back to the seriousness. All right. My view. So here we go. So regarding the SEC, it's broad actions without providing a path towards compliance or an abuse of power. I think that's pretty obvious. I mean, Congress should be able to easily see this, right? They're not acknowledging the bigger picture will drive business out of the country and jobs overseas. This is 100% true. That's going to happen immediately, And when things like that happen, they don't just turn around overnight. So you're driving away business. And the one thing you never want to do as any kind of government officials drive away business, right? Ironically, the SEC is actively hurting investors by disrupting the market through manipulation. So they're causing the market to go down, and they're also attacking staking programs that give consumers rewards, right? The SEC is not providing any protections for U.S. investors whatsoever. The SEC is not targeting obvious scammers, grifters, and fraudsters, of which there's more than enough that they could bring enough lawsuits to circle the sun. But for some reason, we don't go after any of them. We go after like the exchange, right? The SEC legal team budget is hemorrhaging our tax dollars to pay for all the attorney fees. That one kind of, that's like a punch in the ribs. That one kind of bugs me. All right. Next, my view on Binance and CZ. So they simply cannot own every aspect of a crypto transaction due to the numerous conflicts of interest. That needs to be cleared up, okay? Non-disclosure equates to fraud when you owned the market maker company and basically they're wash trading, right? Dumping investments and moving coins to the innovation zone directly manipulates the market, and it wasn't even brought up. And they do that actively, right? Again, and it sums up like this: indifference is not a defense. And that's kind of how CZ comes across, right? Now, I know CZ is highly intelligent, very smart, and he knows what he's doing, right? He's obviously very successful. But at the same time, you can't just say, so what, to everybody. It doesn't work that way, You can't just say, so what. And you can't just sort of think that people are going to assume you're doing the right thing. Whether you're simply market making or whether you're manipulating, to be determined. If you're not telling people that, you're manipulating the market, right? Regarding Coinbase, so they have the making of a company that has tried to operate a compliant business with a regulator that does not offer a compliant path. So it's a catch-22, right? There's like no way out of this. And then my other thought is hopefully their lobbying will actually push Congress to do something, whether it is the holy grail framework that we've all been asking for years and years, or we simply figure out a way to remove Gary. Okay, that should be way up the priority list. I mean, this guy is in way over his head. He's completely run amok, and I don't even know if he knows what his own goals are. Right now, the market. So historically, this year should be a sideways year for Bitcoin. Further disruptions undercut project and industry growth and adoption. That's 100% true. And, any of your altcoins that you thought were going to do great this year, I mean, they're never going to do anything when we have another scandal every 3 weeks, right? Lawsuits spook institutional investment out of the space. This is 100% true. And they alluded to this through the various panels in the most recent Bitcoin conference, that there is no interest right now from institutions. The only one is pretty much Michael Saylor, right? Retail investors continue to be harmed. Happens on a daily basis. No one cares. Great. Thanks, U.S. government, right? The Ripple verdict, if it ever comes out, could have wide implications. So a positive outcome could kick off the next bull run, whereas a negative outcome could derail the industry further. I agree with that to be true. Most parties don't have the resources. These are the parties that are being sued by the SEC, whether it be the bank account or the will, just to see this thing through, because it takes years off your life, to battle the SEC. What's different this time is both Coinbase and Binance do. And Binance has even said that they're directing something like, I want to say $1 billion towards this. So quite a lot, right? Gary the clown, right? Gary has basically lost all credibility due to his conflicting statements and his conflicting actions. You can see videos of him talking about crypto like it's a good thing. You can, the Binance filed the statement that he tried to become an advisor with him. And now here he is doing, the exact opposite. Well, what changed? Why, right? So Gary also had no credibility when he recently testified before Congress, where he was unable to answer simple questions such as, what is a security? And, is Bitcoin a security? Is Ethereum a security? He wouldn't answer the question for anybody. Hard to be a regulator when you don't even know what the answer is and you're the leader of the organization, right? Ultimately, where are we at? Square peg, round hole. So here we go. Are cryptocurrencies securities, yes or no? My personal view, I already did a video on this months ago, and I came to a conclusion that no, they're not. Are cryptocurrencies commodities? They could be, depending on the cryptocurrency. What happens when a cryptocurrency starts a DAO, right? A decentralized autonomous organization. Governance completely decentralized. It's a nonprofit. How does that work? These are kind of these nuances that somebody needs to figure out. On top of the first two questions also is if it's not a security and it's not a commodity, what is it? Guess what? It's a cryptocurrency. Okay, anyway, I know. Sorry, too easy. Who has jurisdiction over the cryptocurrency, right? Looks like I got a little typo there. The SEC, the CFTC, or, get this is a crazy idea, someone else. What if we had a new regulatory body that oversaw cryptocurrency? A cryptocurrency regulator. Right? Exploding brain. I mean, is this only common sense to me? Am I like the only guy thinking this? Or is everyone thinking this? It's probably more like everyone's thinking this, right? Here's a good question. Why are we applying laws created in the 1930s in a court case from 1946 to a brand new technology and investment class and market? That's a great question, right? Why is the SEC chair not an elected position? He was appointed by the president. But look at the wide-ranging effects this guy has and the damage that he's doing right now to the USA. It's extensive. Honestly, Biden should remove him from his post. However, I'm not sure Biden knows what's going on right now. Remember, back to his quote, where was it? Where's my Biden quote? That's not it. Where's my Biden quote? Nope, that's not it. Here we go. When asked what was going on, he said, "What? What?" Anyway, all right. Sorry about that. Back to seriousness. What? This is a great question. This is one that I really wonder. What's the legal budget of the SEC? Is it just endless? Right? How much money are we pissing away on attorneys right now? It has to be astronomical, the amount of money that's going into these lawsuits. I really wonder that one. What is the budget here? Is there any budget at all? Is it just a runaway freight train? We just pick, choose, whatever. No one knows. No one cares. What is that? What's the disclosure there? And why is that allowed to happen? Why isn't anybody targeting that legal budget? In my view, it kind of looks like it needs to be shrunk, right? Because right now it's completely run amok, right? Last question. Will a congressional committee ever review existing crypto laws and frameworks from other countries? And this is the most obvious one, right? So this kind of goes down the train of thought of we don't need to reinvent the wheel here. Like Coinbase said, there's 33 other countries working on this right now. Some of them already have established regulations. Japan, Liechtenstein, right? There's a few of them that are out there throughout Europe that do it. Why can't we look at those and say, here's what's the best parts of everything? How does this comply with U.S. law? And then put something together. Is it really this hard? The answer is no, it's not. It just takes will. It takes political will, right? It takes, leadership. I'm not really sure where any of that is right now. It's kind of missing, or it's in the background somewhere. It's not in a spotlight, right? So ultimately, where do we stand on all this? Well, if you look at the Ripple lawsuit, that's a company that has challenged it and taken it to court, and it's years later, and who knows if and when we'll get that result, right? In the case of Binance and Coinbase, it's the same thing. They're both going to challenge it. It's going to take years. Who's going to make money? The attorneys. The market will have some other weirdo disruption, or the SEC will just continue to sue someone else every 2 to 3 weeks, and it'll continue to get worse and worse here in the U.S. to the point that, they try to squash every bit of it, and all that technology could go overseas, right? That's kind of the real negative view of it. But is that going to happen? I don't know. To be determined, right? Maybe a change in the president changes that. Maybe a change in the SEC changes that. Maybe just time overall, right? I think, more time goes on, the more people slowly figure things out and come around. And hopefully we can get some regulation that is actually created for this new market class, right? So again, going back to the square peg in the round hole, we're hammering the hell out of that with the SEC right now, that square peg in the round hole. And it's never going to go through, right? So I think... I know there was a lot in this video. Some of it's political just because it has to be. Me personally, I'm not a political person at all. I'm an independent thinker, and I just kind of go with what makes logical sense to me. And a lot of what we're doing right now just doesn't make any logical sense. And I look at everything through a business lens of ultimately, what are we trying to do here? We're trying to attract business. We're trying to build business. We're trying to build wealth. We're trying to do all those things. So why are we doing the opposite? And that's where I think Gary has completely lost the confidence of everybody that he's supposedly protecting, right? He's lost the confidence of everyone. I mean, all you have to do is go into Twitter and type in Gary Clown, and you're going to find every single clown picture. And there's far more than I shared earlier. So anyhow, I just wanted to get this video out there. I know a lot of people were kind of looking for, Jesse, can you break this down? You got a video for us. And I figured, why not Friday night? I'll see if I can put something together. I am going to be going on vacation this next week, so I'll be out of town, but I'll still probably be on Twitter a little bit here and there. So anyhow, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the like button. Don't forget, I'm on Twitter. Check me out there. You can check out my website, KIRfinance.com. If you got anything else, I got my financial blog there and all that good stuff. And outside of that, lately I've been posting videos when I have something to say. And this one just kind of took me a while to kind of wrap my head around all these different things. And that's kind of why I have an outline here that I figured I may as well just put on the screen. So that's what we did. So ultimately, hope you have a great weekend. Hopefully things will turn around. Can't be in the, the dumpster fire's got to go out at some point, right? I mean, it can't keep reigniting, can it? And that's where we'll leave it today. So have a good weekend. I'll catch you on the next one.